Hey, welcome to Plant Summary Therapy, and today I'm going to be talking about the Croton plants. Actually, the Croton is a name of a family of plants that come in a large variety of colors and shapes. But basically, the care is the same. It's a tropical plant, so it will thrive in temperatures above 60 degrees. It can handle being an indoor plant, but it needs a large amount of light. It needs to be next to a window. It needs to be in a bright room, especially if you want the color to come out. And it doesn't like to be moved. So if you do get a Croton as a houseplant and it's doing well, think twice before you move it, because these plants are known to drop their leaves. I've had grown up with these plants. My grandmother had these plants all over the yard, and these plants can grow quite tall, maybe 12 to 15 feet. And their colors are beautiful. They're very vibrant. I prefer, well, less bright colors. I chose these Crotons, this Croton. It looks, it just has a splash of color, and these are cute little plants that grow fast, and they're cheap the smaller you get them. And I started these plants out as an indoor plant because I wanted to have more color, and it was doing well, but I've noticed that these plants are susceptible to some type of disease. My Croton, this is a mealy bug, and I went to a garden center and I found mealy bugs. Well, the Croton selection was just infested with a whole bunch of bugs. I hate mealy bugs because they could really wreak havoc on a lot of other plants. So I always check my plants whenever I buy them from the garden store. But this is what infested my plants. My Croton plants were just infested with these scaly bugs. I heard they also can get mites, but it was all these scaly bugs. And so I physically removed them, and they had a lot of babies, but I physically removed all of them. I went through the entire plant. Then I sprayed down the plant with neem oil, and I let it rest outside for a couple days before bringing it into the house. And then when I was getting ready for work, I noticed that the plant was wilting. I felt the soil was moist, it wasn't damp, but then I noticed that it was just infested with these scaly bugs. There were so much scaly bugs that you couldn't even see the bark or the stem. So the next day when I came home, I sat down with a toothpick and I cleaned up all the scale from these plants, and I got everything. I sprayed them down with neem. I let them rest outside for a day or so before I brought them back into the house. And then a couple weeks after that, it happened again, except this time one of the plants died, so I just threw it away. The remaining plant I cleaned thoroughly with a toothpick and a cotton swab underneath the leaves, and then I was about to spray it with neem oil again, but no sense repeating something that didn't work several times before. So I submerged the entire plant, since it was small enough, in my koi pond. And I figured it was just like the plants having to tolerate a heavy rains or monsoons. And I just left it overnight. I took it out, put it under the table in the patio where it can enjoy bright indirect light, and it did well and has continued to do well. And I haven't seen another scaly bug on that plant since. I did treat it with neem oil. I still routinely spray the plants with neem oil, just because it's neem oil is an environmentally safe pesticide, and it's safe for people too. I have this pot that I like to keep in front of my front door. Lately the sun has been really harsh, and it's been hard finding a plant that could tolerate the direct sun even for a couple hours. Croton plants are actually pretty tough. They're a hard stem plant, very nice colors. The brighter the sun, the brighter the colors, and it can handle direct sun very well. The soil mixture that I'm using is recycled soil and potting soil mix that I mix 2 parts of potting soil with 1 part of perlite approximately. I'm trying to cut back on the other amendments like the orchid bark and the cinder for drainage and for nutrient retention. This root ball is not that compact, so I'm not going to mess with it too much. This plant's been through enough because of me. And well, anyways, it's hard when you recycle soil to know what you really got. But so basically, you got to go by feel. Basically, you want a soil that drains, because you want the roots to be aerated so it won't get root rot. It won't be sitting in clay. You can always just fertilize it. I fertilize these plants with Alaska fish fertilizer, and because the Alaska fish fertilizer feeds the microorganisms that break down garden compost or garden organic compounds into elements that the plants can use, like the elements that we buy from the store, like the Gaviota, the 16-16-16, which is what nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, and then Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate. All of those are elements or minerals that the plants can take up, but it bypasses the microorganisms, so the microorganisms have nothing to eat and they suffer. I like to have the microorganisms happy and healthy to keep the soil healthy, because I can't be always remembering to watering or fertilizing these plants. I don't want to have to be the sole caretaker of these plants. I want these plants to be able to take care of themselves. And this is maybe a week later, and the plant is thriving. It just looks happy. The leaves are firm, they're standing up, and because of the bright sun that it gets a couple hours a day, the leaves are getting more yellow, which is not as bad as I thought it would be. I thought these colors would be too harsh, but actually it blends nicely in front of the house. So to sum up, when you buy a plant, any plant from the plant store, check it thoroughly for any parasites, because a lot of the parasites, well, they get to your garden somehow. And crotons are wonderful plants, but they need bright sunlight, and the best thing, if you want them as an outdoor plant, they can handle direct sunlight, and the more sunlight they get, the brighter the colors. Thank you for watching, and aloha.